In this video, we're going to talk about why does healing trauma require another person? Hi, if you're new to this channel, my name is Tom Philp. I've been working with couples and individuals for years who struggle with relational or attachment trauma to regain trust in themselves and others so that they can experience a safe and secure relationship. Okay, so what exactly is the problem? The problem is that when we have trauma, we learn to adapt to that trauma alone. And so, what that does for our nervous system is that teaches it that connection equals danger. Let me rephrase that because that is really important. Our nervous system learns that when bad, overwhelming things happen to us, and there was nobody there to help us process it, nobody was there to help us make sense of it, nobody was there to share the burden of the hurt and the pain and the overwhelm, then our nervous system learned that connection equals danger. And that's why healing trauma actually requires another person. Because what we have to do is we have to teach our nervous system that, in fact, connection is not danger, it is safety. And it's called co-regulation. Being able to teach our nervous system to reach out for others, to connect with others, so that we don't have to share the burden of all the overwhelm, the shame, the guilt, the pain, all the feelings that are created by trauma. We can actually share that burden with others. I see this a lot in my coaching where I'm helping other people and they struggle to even use me and to use the relationship. They want to go and heal the trauma all on their own. And they try to do it themselves. The problem is their nervous system has grown accustomed to actually doing it on their own. And it says, oh yeah, I know this. This makes sense to me. This is our new norm. We can sit in this pain. We can sit in this uncomfortable feeling. And this actually feels right. What feels wrong is to reach out. What feels wrong is to use somebody else to actually comfort us and soothe us, to have somebody else as a source of comfort and soothing and care when we're feeling this way. Let's put this into context given our attachment styles. So if you're anxious attachment, then what happens is your nervous system hyperactivates. Because what it really wants to do is it's craving for that sense of connection. It's craving for that connection to another person. So in the more anxiously attached person, what happens is they'll do anything to restore that sense of connection. But it's not always a true connection. Oftentimes, it's not them being able to be there for somebody else. It is them desperately needing somebody else to be there for them. And so this tends to come across as a wall of emotion to their partner at times. It tends to come across as all of this anxiety. It can come across as criticism. It can come across as contempt. And when that happens, it's more likely to push others away. And so it's less likely that the anxious person is able to use somebody else as a viable resource for comfort, care, and soothing because they're so overwhelmed by their emotions, because they have been triggered and gone into fight or flight oftentimes. Their attachment has been activated, and it's been activated in very much a fight mode, if you will. Then what that tends to do is it pushes other people away. So for the attachment person, they have to be able to learn, the anxious attachment person, they've got to be able to learn, how do I soothe myself so that then I can actively use others to help soothe me as well. And so our rule still applies here because being able to use others, now they don't see them as a source of danger, but they see them as so much a necessity that they struggle to soothe themselves because the way their nervous system reacted is very much through hyperactivity. But they've got to learn, how do I approach others and make room for others in my feeling? How do How do I get down to the core of what I'm feeling and not just swim or drown in this anxiety so that it overwhelms somebody else, so that somebody else actually becomes the right kind of soothing that I need? Now, that might look very different in the more avoidant style of attachment. With the avoidant style of attachment, what we tend to see is more of your typical others equals danger that I was talking about earlier. And so a lot of their great struggle is the stereotypical, how do I learn how to reach out? How do I learn to use others as a source of comfort and soothing and care and regulation for my nervous system? Part of the facade with the more avoidant style of attachment is on the outside, they look okay. On the outside, they're holding everything together. And so it's really hard to see all of the anxiety they might be feeling on the inside. I had somebody I was working with the other day, and I could tell he was blinking his eyes a lot, and he was getting very vulnerable and very emotional. And he was very much a more avoidant style of attachment. And I could see that the way I was speaking to him in softer, more caring, more soothing tones was getting to him. Now, on the outside, if you didn't know this individual, you would see that he was locked down. He was trying very hard to keep all that emotion to himself and to not get over emotional, not to let it spill out too much. And I even pointed that out to him. It looks like you're working really hard right now not to be too vulnerable. And on the outside, he looked very locked down. It almost looked like he didn't care. It was almost like he was unemotional. And this is to the point we're talking about today, in that learning how to use others is helping our nervous system learn how to co-regulate, to not drown in the anxiety by ourselves, or to not emotionally cut ourselves off, but rather learn how to use others as a viable resource for comfort, for soothing, and for care. When we learn how to do that, then we are truly healing our trauma. Let me give you another example. When this individual that I was just talking about a few minutes ago, when he was able to turn to his partner and share what was happening inside of him, his partner was able to respond in a very comforting and soothing way. She validated his feelings. She had empathy for him that he was going through this. She didn't want him to hurt or to feel like he handled all of this alone. In that moment, we call that a corrective emotional experience. Because what just happened is his nervous system learned, oh, I didn't get judged. I didn't get shamed. My partner didn't withdraw. They didn't criticize or use contempt. Actually, my partner showed up for me in a way I've always longed for my partner to show up. And so that was a corrective, co-regulating experience. And if, in this particular case, if he can learn to do that with his partner more consistently and more often, then his nervous system is going to learn, oh, connection equals safety, not danger. And that becomes a healing moment and a healing relationship for him. And it also allows her to be able to now understand what goes on more inside of her partner, the person she loves and cares the most about in this world. So in those moments when we are able to reach out and co-regulate, those become very healing moments for us, and they tend to heal our trauma that was born through neglect, abandonment, abuse of some kind. All of those things set the stage for teaching our nervous system that connection equals danger instead of connection equals comfort and soothing and care. I hope you found this video helpful. If you want a longer version, feel free to go to our podcast. It's Trauma Free Relationship. You can get it wherever you stream your podcast. We have a much longer version. I go into much greater detail on the podcast, and so you can get a lot more information there. Don't forget to check out our free trauma assessment tool. It's just a self-assessment tool, but it gives you a really good idea about what areas in your life might be disrupting your relationship due to trauma.